Mr. President, across the street at the Supreme Court, 4 simple words are engraved on the face of the building: equal justice under law. That's supposed to be the basic premise of our legal system, that our laws are just and that everyone, no matter how rich or how powerful or how well connected, will be held equally accountable if they break those laws. But that's not the America we live in. It's not equal justice when a kid gets thrown in jail for stealing a car, while a CEO gets a huge raise when his company steals billions. We have one set of law on the books, but there are really 2 legal systems. One legal system is for big corporations, for the wealthy and the powerful. In this legal system, government officials fret about unintended consequences if they're too tough. In this legal system, instead of demanding actual punishment for breaking the law, the government regularly accepts token fines and phony promises to do better next time. The second system is for everyone else. In this second system, whoever breaks the law can be held accountable. Government enforcement isn't timid here, it's aggressive. Consequences be damned. Just ask the families of Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, and Michael Brown about how aggressive they are. In this legal system, the government locks up people for decades, ruining lives over minor drug crimes, because that's what the law demands. How can it be that corporate offenders are repeatedly let off the hook when the vast majority of Americans, Republicans, Democrats, independents, want tougher punishment and stronger new laws for corporate crimes? Well, that's how a rigged system works. Giant companies win no matter what the American people want. Right now, we can see the rigged game in action. Republican politicians love to say they're tough on crime. They love to talk about personal responsibility and accountability when they're back home in their districts. But when they come right here to Washington, they're pushing to make it even easier for corporate criminals to escape justice. And here's one example. It starts actually with a great idea: reforming the criminal justice sentencing system to help some of the thousands of people who have been locked away for years at low-level offenses. Legislators in both parties have been working for years to slowly build bipartisan momentum for sentencing reform. This is enormously important, a first step away from a broken system where half our federal jails are filled with nonviolent drug offenders. But now, all of a sudden, some Republicans are threatened to block a reform unless Congress includes a so-called mens rea amendment to make it much harder for the government to prosecute hundreds of corporate crimes for everything from wire fraud to mislabeling prescription drugs. In other words, for these Republicans, the price of helping out people unjustly locked up in jail for years will be to make it even harder to lock up a white-collar criminal for even a single day. That is shameful. Shameful. It is shameful because we're already way too easy on corporate lawbreakers. And that's not all. Tomorrow, the House will be voting on another Republican bill. This one would make it much harder to investigate and prosecute bank fraud. Yeah, you heard that right. Tomorrow, the House will be voting on a Republican bill to make it much harder to investigate and prosecute bank fraud. Mr. President, it has been 7 years since the financial crisis. A lot of people in Washington may want to forget, but the American people have long memories. They remember how corporate fraud caused millions of families to lose their homes, their jobs, and their pensions. And they also remember who made out like bandits. And they didn't send us here to help out the bandits. The American people expect better from us. They expect us to straighten out our criminal justice system and reform drug enforcement practices that do nothing but destroy lives and communities. They expect us to stand up against unjustified violence, but they also expect us to protect the financial system and to hold Wall Street executives accountable when they break the law. They expect us to hold big companies accountable when they steal billions of dollars from taxpayers, when they rip off students or veterans or retirees or single moms, or when they cover up health and safety problems and people get sick, people get hurt, or people die because of it. The American people know that we have two legal systems, but they expect us to fix it. They expect us to stand for justice. They expect us to once again honor the simple notion that in America, nobody is above the law. And anyone in Congress who thinks they can simply talk tough on crime and then vote to make it harder to crack down on corporate criminals, hear this. I promise you, the American people are watching, and they will remember. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield.